Good morning guys, how are you doing? It's like 2nd of December, quite a bright morning. We've got quite a bit to be getting on with actually. This house is being done up. This is just one of the rooms, and this particular room we are going to plaster in its entirety. So, let's have a look what we've got going on, shall we? Up here, we've got quite some nasty cracks, so obviously this is plasterboard and you can see there is movement in there. I think these houses are sort of like 60s, so they would have been tacked up with the old tacks, they would have been hammered up with nails, okay? So I think we're probably gonna guess, judging by the screws on the floor there, that the joists are going to go this way as well, more than likely. So I think we're going to do a little trick. We're going to cut some little light holes here, and the architraves will come off. So we're going to reinstall those up here. We're going to cut little light holes in between the joists, and we're going to put a little bit of that across there so it spans the light hole and kind of like stitches these two flappy edges together, so hopefully they bounce at the same time and can't bounce independently of each other, which is what's causing the crack. There seems to be quite a bit of movement that's gone on in here, and I'm kind of used to these houses. These are very local to me. Usual stuff around the windows. You'll have a big concrete lintel in there that's probably made on site. Got some failing sand and cement here. We've got a nasty bit of cracking down the internal and all the way across the top up here as well, and on this side. So we're going to rake these out and get some scrims over them. Now, I've just been having a little sniff around. So on this wall here, we can see we've got red brick, and here, which is quite unusual for these houses. And when we come over to this internal stuff here, look, we got the old grey sort of like clinker blocks. So yeah, seeing these red bricks in here is a little bit unusual for these houses. I think that's red brick on there as well. Anyway, what does it matter? So what we're going to do, first of all, I am going to go around with my scraper and start addressing anything that's loose. You see we've got this old plastic line that needs to come off. The paint on the ceiling seems to be fairly secure. Sometimes you need to be a bit careful that you might have like a lime wash paint, what I call distemper, and it takes a coat of paint, but if somebody's emulsioned over it, you might not know it's there, and when you put some plaster on the ceilings, it's enough weight and dampness to have that off. And if you do go over lime wash paint which has been emulsioned, it normally waits for you to start troweling up your ceiling before it starts falling off, and it is sort of like the worst thing you can come across as a plasterer plastering a ceiling. Don't tend to find it on walls so much. So let's get on with it. Let's start scraping things back, finding any areas that are loose and just restabilising things up. Right, let's get on. This is stuff you gotta watch out for. See how easy this paint's coming off? I don't like the look of that. Another thing that's kind of mildly interesting is on the ceiling that we can clearly see that's been done in pink plaster, and on the walls here it's grey. And up here we can see the old scrims that they used. It's called a jute, I believe. they would have had to, you see it's more of a string than anything else. That was put up. You'd have to lay the plaster on, push this into the plaster, and then put another coat of plaster over it. Not the self-adhesive stuff we get nowadays. Okay, so look, the distemper on this part, found the distemper over there. This ceiling, we knew it was on there, but I was saying, because it's got this texture on there, we might be able to get back into this and stabilise it, but I knew it was there, just found it in there this morning. And this little room as well, just giving it a little test on this crack, and it's on here as well, so I'm going to guess it's on every ceiling, which was probably done when it was actually built. So there's two ways you can tackle it. You can try and scrape all this paint off, stabilise that dusty stuff, which is going to be quite labour intensive and very messy, or you can just tack over it. I've been on the phone to the client and I've suggested that we tack over it in this particular case because of all the cracks we've got going on as well. So by tacking over it, we're going to be eliminating those cracks, and we're going to get it screws up through the fresh plasterboard, through this plasterboard, so we're not relying on those old tacks, which is going to save us trying to mess around cutting those holes out and everything that I said earlier. So, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, whatever you're going to spend on the extra material to get these up, and if you like guarantee that that plaster's going to stay up there. If you know, you spend materials on that, or you spend materials on the labour of trying to stabilise what we've already got, which is all right, but yeah, I don't know. I think in this particular case, I think if it was my house, I would overtack these boards. So generally, it's just like that, isn't it? Sometimes you have a plan in the building game, sometimes you need to be ready to change the plan at a moment's notice, and that seems to be one of those times. There's plenty of other stuff I can be getting on with. Obviously, I'm going to want to be able to find the joists, so I can get on with doing that because we can't get the boards here until tomorrow or until tonight. We can get them here for tomorrow morning, so it just changes the way we're going to have to tackle this. So in the meantime, I can get walls prepped up, I can get these sockets and stuff tidied up, I can get scrims up, and you know, I can get beads up, I can address these, and also there's a bit of a priority on this lavatory ceiling. Now this has got a texture on it, and I've given it a poke and it feels rock solid, and there's no cracking in here to talk of. And I think this, because there is a priority to get it done because they need to get the toilet in, this can be done today. I've had a good poke at it, that is rock solid up there, so whatever this is up there, if there's distemper underneath it, it seems to have stabilised it really, really quite well. And there's no saying there's no cracking. You can see I've got a little bit of the pink SBR left over, and I would like to congratulate myself on the cutting in. Yeah, you do feel like you need to be careful with it. I've only just put this on, it's just tacking up now. I did use it the other day and I did notice it dried very quickly, so I'll get back to you, keep an eye on this, and I'll report how quickly this took to dry. 10-15 minutes. It's got a tiny bit of tack left in it. I'd say that's ready to go. It's a little bit wet in some of the bigger areas, but yeah, a little bit wet there. Look, it's a little bit bigger, a little deeper. New sockets gone in. I find it's worth getting a little bit of gaffer tape over the back where the terminals are, and also curl it round to hold the screws in. It stops them from getting lost, you see. So yeah, terminals at the top, we don't want to get water in there, so this just helps it. Any plaster or whatever should not really be able to get in there unless you have a real bad accident, you know, so yeah, that's probably good enough. A little bit of pink SBR in these nasty areas, because we're going to be putting some bonding coat in there, and we're going to bring them out to level before we do anything like put scrims over these cracks. We've got board finish. I didn't realise I'd left that in there, it just came through on the editing. It was a Facebook post I put up the other day. actually made me laugh, so I think I'll just leave that little bit in. Okay, so in here I have run out of Kirk's pink SBR. So this is now PVA, and I've knocked it up a little bit stiffer than I normally would. Just if you've been keeping up with recent videos, we did have an issue with adhesion using PVA and some multi-finish, and I'm not too sure what it is, but you know, since that experience where it popped off the wall, very similar circumstance where we had to PVA over like no suction whatsoever. So I've knocked up a little bit thicker than I normally would with the PVA because I wanted it to be that little bit stronger. And compared to Kirk's pink SBR, this is where I started, and it's still just as wet as it was when I first put it on. You only got hours waiting for this to go off again, whereas with the pink SBR, if you need to get this primed up that day in the morning, it's probably a bit of a no-brainer really. Dries much faster. Okay, so we are back in the job this morning, and yeah, it's alright, it's a little bit chilly. So we are into tack 3 ceilings now, and we need to find the joists, don't we? We've got a sheet of plasterboard up there. We're going to put another 12.5 sheet over the top. So the screws, oh, he's got me 42s. I thought he was going to get me 50s. They're the screws he's got me. Might be a little bit on the small side, we'll see. Because we need, you know, we've got 12.5 up there, we might as well say. Another 12.5, so that's going to be 25 mil. I wanted kind of 25 mil to go into the actual joist. I found one here, look. So just with the hammer and this old chisel, just find both sides of it, and I'll just mark down on the wall where the joist is. Now we need to find them all the way along, but once you found one, and I figured one would be there because it was on a crack, and I assumed that these joists would be going this way. Now to find the next one, it should be about 400 millimeters away, so it's kind of like a hammer length and a little bit more, so I'm going to guess it's there. Of course, the danger with over-tacking boards such as this is you just do not, I mean, it's a loft up here, we're upstairs, so you just do not know exactly what's going on up there in those joists. Is there water pipes? Is there water pipes running along the joists? Is there wires up there? You really want to be quite accurate. You know, it's better if you can get it down and you can see what's going on, but obviously removing this ceiling is going to create a lot of mess, so we are just over-tacking it. So that is why I like to get the ideal screws, because you could get massive, great big long screws, but you'll be, you know, going up into a void, and you don't know what you might be hitting up there if your screws are excessively long. So yeah, he did say he was going to get me 50s, but he's got me 42s, so we're losing 8 millimeters on what I was expecting there. But we'll see how we got on. I'm going to find the joists, and if they seem to be holding all right, then we'll be good. If not, we might need to get some longer ones. We'll find out. So look, made a little hole this side where I hit with my hammer, just big enough to get my finger up, and I could feel the joist was there, so it was pretty much bang on. Then I made one this side. So these joists, it's pretty much there. That's how big they are. I can feel I'm on the joist there. I've got it. So just mark on the wall where the joist is. So yeah, we was pretty much at 400. See, it's pretty much hammer length and just a little bit on the side. So here, hammer length, a little bit on the side, I'd say there. Who we got working for us today? It's a shame. Right, if we get up and ping these. Where's those things? Can't remember the last time. No, you got to put the top back on that. I screwed it off. Feels like the chalk called a ping line. I can't remember the last time I used it.
Did you put chalk in?
Yeah. the joist now. Ready for this one with a prop? Are we in?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a note of what we're doing. This is the offcut from this bit of board, and quite often I'll use this and measure it to the next joist, because then the next full board will stagger this joint here. We don't want these joints being in the same line all the way across. And I noticed as well, so when they did it originally, it looks like they started here, so that looks like it's 120, which is why we started on this side. So we're coming over, so 120 will bring us here, so we're not ending on one of their joints either, we're overlapping them. But let's have a look what's going on. So we've got the light fitting and everything on this. So if I stopped here and I need to put a full sheet in there, I've got to cut a sliver out. And so what I think I'm going to do, because this looks like, I've tried it, is going to fit in this little square area here. So that's the offcut from this board, and that's where that one's going to go. But what I'm going to do is, look, because there's a joist right here, I'm going to measure to here, okay, put a piece of plasterboard in here, and that means when we put a bit of plasterboard in this side, we're only going to have to nibble out a tiny little bit to slot this up to the ceiling rails. Front room is a timber that runs across here. That's what I've drawn the line on there. It's a joist. All the way along there. All the way along there. So we just get that ping line and we'll ping these lines all the way through. I'll have to drop this ceiling raise. One of my favourite things to find is that they've used really old slotted screws. Absolute nightmare. God damn. How did they get that in like that? I think I've just worked something out what's been going on in here, because it wasn't lining up and I couldn't work out what's going on here. So this distance from here to another crack which I found over there is 900, and that crack to that is 1800. So I think they've used 900 by 1800 boards, but they must have come this direction with them. So I think they've come away this way. Look, this is why we've got a full crack all the way down. So they kind of have, if they have used them, which will explain why we got these strange positions for the cracks to be on. They've 900 them this way, in line with the joists. Might be a reason why it has cracked as bad as it has. So of course, we're going to start here, I think, with a 240 coming this way, and it's going to be 120 coming this way. But it misses this crack, you see, and that's why I couldn't work out. That to that, it's 900. We are back in the room, and What have we got to do today? Well, this room needs to be plastered in its entirety. Plasterboard ceiling. This room here is just the ceiling, which again is plasterboard. And this room here, which doesn't have a light at the moment, is the ceiling and the walls. And ceiling again is plasterboard. Now, the walls in here have been prepped up the same as they have done in there. Here, I can feel we're a little bit of Kirk's pink SBR left in the tub, but we've gone to PVA and you can see it's over a painted surface. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but I think I might see if I can do an experiment, because the plaster that we've got is board finish, and I put a little radiator in it just to raise the temperature a little bit, although it's not particularly that cold. But using board finish, I think I'm going to try to see if I can get 3 hits done today, rather than just the 2 that you normally get with multi-finish if you want to be home at a reasonable time, that is. So I'm going to concentrate on these 3 ceilings today, and the reason is I've got a tool turning up that I want to use on these walls prior to plastering, and hopefully it will turn up at my house today. So yeah, I think we'll save the walls for tomorrow, and we'll have a talk about them and show you the tool that I'm going to be using on it. So today, yeah, I think these 3 ceilings, let's get these on and see how well board finish does on them. I've got my radio back from Shay yesterday, and I've got a little case to go with it, keeping batteries in. I try to keep it clean. Okay, so that's what we've gone on like. Just put it on and flattened it in. I did knock this up a little bit wetter. I think the board finish seems to enjoy it a little bit more. It's picking up a little bit now. But as a result, it's gone down quite a bit tighter. And of course, we've gone over some nice fresh plasterboard as well, which is fairly straight. And we use the 20x5 carbon steel trowel, which is predominantly straight. Just kicks up slightly at the front and at the back. Could take your head clean off. Right, I've overcooked this. I've got too much plaster left in here, loads of it. What can we do? I'm not a big fan, although because we have gone on quite tight, this is pulling in, so I could possibly use that to lay this ceiling down. I think I might. That's wetter in there. Because we went on tight, the plasterboard is pulling the moisture out of this tighter coat. So we do get the difference. This is pulling in a little bit faster. That's a little bit wetter. We are going to get the slip coat over the top, and that's really going to reduce our setting time by laying down with the same coat, because there is a bit of suction there on these boards. If there was no suction and you went and tried to lay down on something like this, but the suction is completely dead, so if you use the same gear there, you put it on and it's just going to sit there and sit there and sit there. So if you put a second coat on that with the same gear, you might as well just put one great big thick coat in there, because there's not enough time difference between the setting. So using the same coat to put the second coat on is acceptable as long as there is suction. I just have a little look here. Yeah, look, I knocked it up a little bit wetter, and I had a wet hawk, and it's a little bit slid off the side of my hawk. And aren't I glad that I put this bit of plasterboard over my radio that I haven't had for months and months and months. Look, it's hit that and it's so wet, it's splashed all up the wall. Let's get this off. Okay, so we got the second coat over all this, and I dare say it is actually pulling in. I need to wash out my bucket. I also had enough left in the bucket just to get these reveals on, look, which is over this PVA painted surface. Got no suction on these at all. We've had to pay a little bit of attention being nice and neat, because we've got these curved kind of plastic sort of fillets, fascias, whatever you want to call them, when they installed the windows. So these little edges here can be a little bit tricky to keep clean, especially when they put their caulking or whatever the filler silicone it is, and that gets stained up. So it might need to pay a bit of attention to that. So what it looks like is when you start brushing this in, that silicone gets stained up the same colour as your plaster, and it looks like it's you that's been really messy with your plaster, but it's not. It's just catching that silicone, which is white, and that's why you can't notice it against the window. So yeah, let's keep on top of this. And I also had a little bit left over, and I knew there was this area here, so this is going to have a bed on it, I believe, this way. I'm not sure what they're doing, what height it's going to be, so maybe they're bringing this up, but I just started to repair this because I'm going to put some beads across here, and there was some very damaged brickwork there. So just with a bit of stiff finish, just filled some deeper holes which are there where a wall has been taken out. Okay, it's not quite 11 o'clock. I got out my van at 8 o'clock this morning, and I didn't start plastering immediately. I should have really paid attention to exactly the time that I mixed up the plaster, but I did faff around for a little bit. It's not even 11 o'clock, and this ceiling is down and shading the light. It has trailed up, even though we laid down with the same mix of plaster. It's trailed up really nice. 11 o'clock. The same sort of amount of faffing around. Using multi-finish starting this time, this ceiling would still be hanging. We're using multi-finish, I'm probably, 11:45, it's not even 11 o'clock, this ceiling's down. Definitely got plenty of time to get that other ceiling on. Okay, so we got this second ceiling on, and I must say this board finish does appear to be holding itself together much better. Maybe it's just because we've had some of that not so nice multi-finish. But this is how I've put it on. I'll kind of flatten as I'm going along, because neater is ultimately faster. So I need to get back on this and flatten it all in. Still remaining with the 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown, which is predominantly straight. It just kicks up slightly at the front and the back. It's probably the most powerful hand trowel in the world, and it could take your head clean off. Okay, so I have just been across this ceiling with the... And this is the condition we are looking at now. Just to show you how wet that is. Look, it's exceptionally wet, and look how flat it is. I would argue that this is holding itself together in an early stage much better than I'll be finding with regular old multi-finish. I'm quite enjoying the way this is sorting itself out, because this is exactly how I like to do things. Get things under control right from the outset, and it makes everything else easier. Now, I used what was left in there and on my hook, just to fill in a couple of little places and a couple of little hollows that I found using that trowel. So what I normally do if I'm using multi-finish to counteract the longer setting times, I would probably knock back into that and use dirty water, but I said I wanted to get 3 hits on, see if we could get 3 hits on, but this ceiling's so small, I don't want to be sitting with this whole thing. So what I think I'm going to do is cheat a little bit, and I'm going to wash that bucket clean out, yeah, and use absolutely fresh plaster, fresh water, and I'm going to knock up just enough to get that ceiling on. And I'm going to guess by the time I've done that, this might be ready to lay down. I'll put the second coat on, and sorry, I think somebody I recognise out there. So I might be able to, I'm going to knock up separate, get this on. Should I do it with the dirty water? Should I? Could I? It's the last words of a fool. Do you know what? It's such a small ceiling. I'm going to clean it out, okay? I'm going to clean it out and put fresh water in there, and I'm going to put that one as well. It's going to be slightly behind this one. And if I don't keep going on and nattering to you guys, I might have a chance to get this all down in one sort of hit. So hopefully I'll have the ability to knock up again for the laying down, and I'll be able to use the same stuff to lay this down and that little ceiling in there. And this one's going to be just slightly behind in time. Right, let's get on with it. Time is 2:45, and we are done in here and in here. I got to get out of here. I've got things to do. This is all browning off and stuff. It's trailed up very nice. Look, read a bit of that mess in here. Look, I've had to redo this. There was a bit of a gap towards the edge, and I scrimmed it, but I forgot to staple it. And when I was putting the first coat on, this lot and this lot came down on me. Look, there it is there, and there's that one there. So I had to re-scrim it quickly and push scrim into, see there is some there, there's a bit of a gap, you can see the scrim in through there. Yeah, I had to push the fresh scrim into that first coat. So that was down the walls and everything. Luckily this one's having all the walls done in it, so yeah, there we go. Right, I've got to get out of here. I've got loads of things to do. I'm well under pressure now. I'll talk to you later. Alright guys, and now the time is very much later. I've been right up against it. I've got rather large amount of work to get through on the run up to Christmas. Doing this ceiling situation, those last couple of ceilings where I did that larger one and then that small one on the side of that, I really had to pull my finger out and move with that board finish. That was really picking up. That stuff was shifting. You know, when I used to have guys working for me and things like that, and Jasper the Emperor, you might be familiar with if you've been with this channel for quite a while. He still has guys working for him, and one thing he complains about is people taking cigarette breaks, especially when they're on day work. If you are a contractor and you've got people working underneath you and you're paying them on a day rate, I suggest that you get them some board finish to use, because they will not have time for a cigarette break. Let me tell you, that stuff shifted. Yeah, it was really quick. I was under pressure to get that done, but we did get it done. I'm in there tomorrow. My tool that I was talking about has not turned up, it would appear. So we're going to have to just get on without that. But tomorrow I want to get back in that first room and complete all the rooms, all the walls in there, so that matey can get on with whatever it is that he needs to do. So in the meantime, I've literally just thrown these 3 days together. I am so under pressure at the moment with a lot of work. I've had a lot of work come in, and where I am, like I say, a sole trader, and I work predominantly by myself these days, you know, it can go either way. It really can. 1 minute you're fine, you're ticking along quite nicely. 1 minute work dries up and you haven't got anything, and another minute you just get a couple of jobs that take a little bit longer than you thought you would, and that just seems to be the time when somebody else comes out of the woodwork and says, oh, can you fit this job in for me? And they're like, what? And that's where I am at the moment. I am absolutely inundated with work, but touch wood, I don't want that to stop, to be honest with you, because the moment you say that, I'm really busy, that's the moment when it dries up on you. So at the moment we've got kind of like 4-5 jobs running, and like I say, being a sole trader and working by myself, I'm doing a lot of small jobs, but this means that I need to be kind of in tune with all these different people's projects, and I need to understand when I can get in there, what I can do. The guy needs to fit the boiler on this date, can you get there to do that, at least that cupboard or something like that, and I have to sift through what I can and can't do. And like, I've had to put a job back to give me a little bit of leeway, because I wasn't expecting to have to tack those ceilings, which has put me right back where I wanted to be. And I've also had another job come in, which I agreed to do before I got onto a flat that's coming up, and I'm doing the flat in its entirety, and I was hoping to fit another job in there in between doing this one, which is just run over. And I was going to do a ceiling for another guy, but then the ceiling has now turned in because they've removed the paper from the plastering live walls, and now they want the walls done as well. So I'm right up against it. I've got another guy who wants me to do a small job. I'm up against it. It's December. It's crazy in December, isn't it? The run up to Christmas. I can't wait to get to Christmas and have a few days off, because I'm getting a feeling, just like usual, in the area that I put myself in, it's going to get pretty hectic. And if you want to throw board finish into the mix, it's going to get even more hectic. Right, I'm going to wrap this up. Guys, I always say at the end, don't forget to come over to the Facebook group Plaster Master Smurf 74 if you want to talk to me and other plasterers about plastering. If you want to give some advice, or if you want to get some advice, it's just easier, I find, to engage there other than on the platform on YouTube. So yeah, come on over there if you are cool with Facebook and all that stuff. So yeah, let's wrap this video up, and I will see you really soon on the next one. I don't know what it's going to be about. It might be about the job that we're going to do tomorrow. It's very likely. Alright guys, take it easy. See you really soon on the next video.